How much of a premium do you put on two things? Number one, liberals trust in institutions and the corporate media, which is unbelievably high compared to independents and conservatives. And then the other aspect is how much pull do the Clintons still have at this point? Because this really is in many ways a vendetta on Hillary's part, because she believes that Assange is the person maybe most directly responsible for her not winning the presidential election in 2016. But I do think that these two elements play a huge role. She can have, and she'll have, a tantrum until she passes away. That's a fact. But there's the other aspect of it, which is there is this sort of institutional acceptance on the part of, liberal politicos that just, they take the CIA's word, they take the FBI's word. They have rehabilitated George W. Bush, for God's sake.
Don't get me started.
They've gone to such lengths to try to rewrite history in a way that is more suitable for their psyche. But I do think that there is an inherent danger to how much comfortable liberals and how much say they have in our political arena today. It's not to say that they shouldn't have a say, but from what I've observed, they basically suck all the air out of the room, and what they say goes. And they are more or less willing to throw away our Constitution to get what they want. And that's not to say that conservatives and the hard right crazies don't have their own part in the process in throwing our Constitution away. But liberals project themselves to be the smarter of the bunch, and this ain't smart. This, in fact, is as stupid as it gets, in beyond irresponsible.
And the potential for Trump to be charged, or even his name mentioned around the Espionage Act, throws another wrench into all of this, because then we have liberals suddenly defending the Espionage Act as some kind of just law that should be carried out. I mean, I think the thing to do is look at the people who are consistent throughout administrations and who criticize this law, no matter who's in power, which party it is. The principle remains the same. The Espionage Act is incredibly abusive. The CIA spies illegally. The FBI spies and monitors its own citizens. These are things that have been carried out by multiple administrations, no matter which party's in power, and they should be opposed on their own merits, and not that shouldn't change depending on who's elected. I think it is worth noting on your second point about Hillary. Just kind of an interesting coincidence here is that the judge that Deb mentioned, Judge Kodal in the Southern District of New York, also was the judge in the DNC case in 2019, when the DNC attempted to sue WikiLeaks and Russia for colluding. And that judge ruled that WikiLeaks was plainly within their First Amendment rights to publish these documents. That didn't get a lot of play because, of course, it didn't fit the Mueller narrative of the time, when that was basically taking over all discussion of this. But it's incredibly important ruling, and it's very meaningful that their right to publish was upheld. And so people are going to, as you say, complain about the 2016 election forever. That's just going to be a part of it. But it's really worth looking at the fact that the New York Times said that if they got these documents, they would have published them too. People want a place to put their blame because it means they don't have to self-criticize, of course. So I think that's just how that works.
And the New York Times did get these documents, and they did publish them. And
right.
The Guardian got these documents, and it did publish them. And Der Spiegel got these documents, and it did publish them. And
that's these, the Iraq war logs in Afghanistan. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, what we're really talking about is, what the 18 charges in the indictment all have to do with Chelsea Manning's releases, the Afghan war and Iraqi war atrocities by the UK and the US governments that were exposed. None of this has to do with the fact that Hillary was embarrassed by truthful disclosures in 2016. I hate Trump, and if this had any hand in Trump getting elected, that's a travesty. But everyone else published it. I heard about the Pelosi tapes, etc., but I didn't hear about it. I heard it from Rachel Maddow. I didn't go look it up on WikiLeaks. Why is WikiLeaks, who happened to have been the first to disclose it, the one that's supposedly responsible for bringing down Hillary when it was the same message was amplified and pummeled on left-wing or supposedly progressive media channels. That's why, if it did have an impact, it had an impact, not because nobody went to WikiLeaks to have a look and see what dumps they'd done that day.
Yeah, I think, well, a huge part of this has been the Justice Department trying to tie Julian to what Chelsea did and try to make a connection that he told her to do it or he helped her do it or whatever they're trying to draw this sort of causal link. And they haven't been able to do it, which is why Obama's Justice Department didn't go forward with this, because it's very weak. It's very weak. And so, I am hopeful. I am hopeful that Merrick Garland has some semblance of reason. He has seemed to be somewhat reasonable, but this is just ludicrous at this point. Like, I can't believe but then again, I can't believe I'm still talking about my bodily autonomy. So, these things never seem to amaze me.
But the reality is we need Merrick Garland to actually drop the charges. We can't be waiting around for Julian to get extradited and then waiting around for a trial and waiting around for hoping that he'll have some defense, which he certainly does. I mean, this is ridiculous. These charges are absurd, but he'll be dead by then. He will. He's not going to make it. His health is declining, and he's basically been incarcerated for close to 13 years, depending on how you count it. 3.5 years.
It's quite extraordinary how long he's survived. Let's be honest about that, and that's what they're counting on. Again, if you look at what transpired, particularly during the Cold War, the intelligence agencies, their goal was to make it look like an accident. In any case where they wanted somebody to die, if they're not pulling the trigger, then they're going to do everything in their capacity to make it look like Julian is, maybe dying of natural causes, but it's the cause that they inflicted upon him in order for it to happen.
Thanks for watching. If you want to support our mission to transform politics into service, please like this video, subscribe, follow us on social media, and consider joining our Patreon, where you'll get early access to our interviews as well as other exclusive content. Links are in the description. Peace out.